I was doing one of my routine patrols on the compound to ensure that students are safe. I was proceeding west, heading east to the farm area, and there was a blind spot to the building that when I turned the corner, I just bumped into two gunmen. I mean, actually, I didn't really know it was firearms at first. They had t-shirts, you know, over their faces and disguising their, but I thought it was students. So I was like a bit surprised because we bumped into each other literally, and then one of them shouted at me, "Who is you? Who is you?" So I was like, and then I looked down and I realized they had pistols which looked like Glocks. So I was like, I'm just the safety officer here with the Ministry of the Game. And then one of the other gentlemen seemed very, I don't know, boy, he just seemed like he was on the next level, like for some reason, like he wanted my head. So he was telling the other guy, bumping him and like, you know, trying to tell him, yo boy, give man one quick now boy. So I put my hands up now. When I realized, you know, the intent is being made, I said, brother, I am just here as school safety officer, the Ministry of Education. Give him one in the head now boy. So I just remained calm as possible as I could have been in that situation. And then there was a class actually going on next to me that the students were unaware of that situation. So it was so eerie. So I had to try and stay calm in order that these, you know, wouldn't alert these gunmen in such a way to make them, you know, because you know when people are scared, they react to situations differently. So I don't know. I just tried to stay calm as possible. And even, you know, they said to me, well, one of them said, well, you know, turn around. No, they tried to get me to come to the back of the building. And I said, no, sir. I said, sir, no. I say, I'm just here. And they said, well, okay, well, turn your back and just walk. So I was just thinking about being shot in the back by this point. So while I was walking away, I was trying to alert students with a little, you know, without verbal, just doing hand signals, and they weren't as responsive as I would have liked. So then I had to shout at some point. And then I saw police. The police response was good. I saw police about 200 meters away with their weapons drawn, rushing onto the compound. But I don't know how them guys escaped so quickly, but they escaped. But there's many breaches in the area where they came in, so hoping those things are addressed.
When you say they escaped, where you saw them when they escaped?
I didn't even want to look at where they were going. I don't want these guys to have reasons to discharge with firearms. So, but when we did physical checks after, myself and the acting principal, there's many visible breaches in the security at the farm area. I mean, you know, just pick your poison. If you want to jump, you want to climb a wall, you want to crawl on the ground anyway, or you want to get in the school, you can get it.
So up to now, you're not sure why you're in the school?
Well, sir, that is quite bemusing because to me, it's only children there, and this is what was playing through my head there. I was trying to figure out, wow, am I going to get shot today and die on a school compound? Because it's supposed to be a haven for, you know, to engender learning, not so. So,
what's your name again?
Shaka Wallace is the name, sir.
And your position?
I am school health safety and security officer here at this school.
Well, I'll be very honest with you. I never really heard of a health and safety officer at a school before. I'm wondering if that is something that is recently implemented or relatively new. But it doesn't matter. He said something there which caught my attention almost immediately. He saw the police. He saw the police heavily armed police, rushing onto the compound. And he says, up to now, I don't know how these gunmen escaped. He says, you know, I confronted these gunmen. One was even suggesting to put a bullet in my head. I'm still alive. But how is it that these people escaped when I myself, in that moment, also saw the police, heavily armed police, rushing onto the compound? So I mean...
Well, I mean, the answer was the fact that he said that there were multiple ways to get in and out. But I think the irony, of course, is it's a school, right? You're not thinking, ooh, we have to secure... to some extent, you can't put such security measures to make it impossible to come in and out. It's not a prison, right? It's not Fort Knox. You're not guarding gold bullion. It's kids. The more security... At some point, the security becomes excessive, oppressive, and even potentially dangerous if it makes it difficult to evacuate the school, because we just had a situation where, you know, we needed schools to be evacuated.
Well, one might think, Ketan, you're being rather daft. I'm not, because my thinking is that you have police rushing onto the compound to deal with a situation that, if confronted, it more than likely would have turned into a gunfight between the
Yes.
police and these gentlemen.
Which could have been very catastrophic.
Exactly. So again, we're grateful that nobody was hurt or harmed in this instance. But furthermore, if police are aware of the situation, rather than rushing onto the compound as they did, right, because that tells me that their mind is pumped, their heart is pumped, their adrenaline is up. If I am not mistaken, you are or you should secure every possible avenue, and notice what I said, every possible avenue of the school compound before you are making your entrance for it to turn into a gunfight. Because it gives the police an advantage that they have an aim at almost every single angle. And furthermore, it allows for any opportunity of escape to try and be quickly dealt with. I know I said try, it's not always possible.
There are two philosophies in a situation like that. The first philosophy is like what you said. Make sure that they don't have an avenue to escape and try to hem them in. The problem, of course, is you don't necessarily want to actually have any sort of confrontation around civilians, much less a school. So the second philosophy would be, and this is where I think they might have done it halfway. You don't necessarily surround the school. You don't block off the entrances to the school. You basically herd them in a direction. You don't force a confrontation. You leave them a way to leave the school by coming through one direction, and it naturally, if they don't want to fight, they will leave in the opposite direction. The key point then is, because you're trying to avoid a confrontation. So
I agree, running onto a compound is the worst possible thing.
With police procedures, sometimes it's you actually give the criminal space to leave so that, like in a high-speed chase, you don't necessarily always try to bring the car to a stop. Sometimes when they're chasing a car in different jurisdictions, they'll just follow until there's a section of the highway where there aren't any civilian cars. Now, where they failed is, even if they wanted to do that, they should have secured the vicinity around the school so that once they left the school, you could converge on them
Based
there.
off of your logic, what you just described, that is exactly what transpired. You gave them an opportunity to exit.
Without the follow-through.
They escaped. But I think furthermore, my thing is that, and I'm questioning this, and all of these things are just coming to my mind, is whether or not a police station in the district of that police station, or the jurisdiction of that police station, there are multiple schools.
Yeah.
But should that police station also be equipped with updated maps of a school compound? This is the main entrance, this is the main exit. We have this entrance, we have this gate here, we have this gate here, and there is this wall at the side, but there is no wall. I'm talking about certain things like that. Because of the possibility of this happening again, based off of what we saw on Friday, we shouldn't downplay that.
Normally, the answer would be no, but in this case, I think the answer would be yes, just because the chances of this happening again are not low enough to say, well, it's not necessary. And more importantly, what the safety officer said there, when he and the principal walked around the school, and there are a lot of breaches to the point where he's concerned that there are too many avenues in and out that are too easy. I mean, granted, a normal wall, most schools, if somebody wanted to scale the wall, they could scale the walls of most schools. But there's a difference between one that's just so simple that they could disappear almost seemingly into thin air, as opposed to having to put effort into getting through whatever barricade or obstacle.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we go any further, let's take a look at this video from the Ministry of Education's press conference last Friday. This is just towards the end, actually. These are the final questions that were asked. Probably the most important. Let's see this video.
Just final question. Is there a specific unit within the ministry that can investigate these things, or is this specifically cybercrime that you're going to have to pass this on to?
This is a police matter. This is a police matter.
All right. My usual question, Prime Minister been informed, has he given you any instructions or anything that he wants you to convey to the public?
Well, I'm doing exactly what you would expect me to do at this point, keeping the public informed. We would have put out a press release earlier today so that we the public is aware that we know what is happening, we are dealing and treating with it, and so that we don't have parents panicking and wondering, what exactly is the protocol, what's taking place. We're informing. This is the protocol that has been followed. We want to thank our principals and our teachers for ensuring that the safety of our children was paramount, and so we are moving forward with the investigation with the help of the police, and we really want to make a call. I want to make a personal call to our children, for our children, on behalf of our children, asking those who are involved in this to understand the repercussions that destabilizing our education system has on our children. I have a child out of school today. I'm sure Mr. Morris Julian, many of us sitting on here will have children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews. This affects us all. So it takes a village to raise a child, and we have to be more mindful of the effects of our actions on our children. So I would just really, in the strongest terms, condemn what happened today, and I would appeal to those involved to not do this again to our children.
And just one last question from myself. Have you been in contact with the Chief Secretary of Tobago, seeing as how some schools in Tobago are also affected?
No, but the ministry officials have been in touch with Tobago, and so that's how we know Tobago has been affected and what's happening there.
I think we have to be, all of us, in anything that we do and whatever we say, we always have to be mindful of such and the impact it would have on anybody watching or viewing. But again, the Ministry of Education did not hold a press conference. We would all be scratching our heads this morning.
Is it me, or did she say the children or the kids involved? As though, I'm wondering if officially, internally they think that it is a hoax.
It sounded as though that came across. I got that impression as well.
No, I actually think she directly said it at one point to imply that it wasn't just adults on the outside involved, but children, relatively speaking.
Then the Minister of Education
should not have said that.
Should not have said that, because if we're dancing around the fact that it's purely a TTPS matter and the fact that an investigation is being carried out, then I wonder if it's just a faux pas on the Honourable Minister's
part. It might have just been a slip, in the sense of the fact that there were no actual explosions heavily implies this is more or less the in hindsight the proof of if it's a hoax, right? And then you think, well, who would want to cause a hoax? You would think of school children. So I mean, the implication is there, but again, if you want to be proper and official, let the investigation run its course. It's better to say, well, we've investigated and we could prove that it's a hoax, as opposed to, well, we've investigated, we don't have a clue, and we think it is a hoax.
TTPS, please give me some confidence. Inspire me a little bit.
Oh boy.